What I'm holding in my hand is a speaker that I keep coming back to again and again. And there's a number of reasons why. Number one, I appreciate the rich lineage and history behind the product. Number two, I just like the overall look of it. I think it has a very symmetrical dimension and shape. And also, I think it looks fantastic in this rosewood veneer. It just gives it that posh, luxurious, high-end British product aesthetic, which I think is pretty cool. And then there's going to be the sound. In fact, I don't mind saying that to me, good sound and good looks are primary. Being a conventionally good value, that's secondary. All right, so here's what's going on. The Harbeth P3 ESR has been a huge part of my audio journey, and today I'm going to make a video about him. Now, to provide value to you all, I'm going to kickstart things by comparing the original P3 to the 40th anniversary model, and then I'm going to wrap up this video by telling you all why if I only had one speaker to live with for the rest of my life, it would likely be the P3. So, having said that, let's get right to it. I don't know what that was. Okay, so first, let's go over the technical differences between the original P3 and the 40th anniversary model. So, there's not going to be a whole lot to say here because what you're getting with the anniversary model is the same exact speaker, only there's been a few upgrades on the inside and it comes with an exclusive wood veneer. Let me show you what I mean. This is going to be our 40th anniversary P3 ESR. Now, as you can tell, it's pretty much the same speaker, only you get this beautiful olive wood veneer that looks great and feels great to the touch. On the inside, you're going to get audiophile grade pure OFC internal wiring. You're going to get audiophile grade polycaps, and on the back, you're going to get these WBT Next Gen binding posts, which cost a lot of money. Speaking of money, what's going to be the price difference between these speakers? Well, the normal P3 ESR retails, at least in the US, for $2,450. If you want to get the pair in rosewood, that's going to cost you $2,600. And if you want to get the anniversary model, that's going to cost you, well, let's just round up $5 and call it $3,000. Now, I think what's interesting about the 40th anniversary series is the story behind it, because Alan Shaw, the man who owns Harbeth and is the head engineer, he's old school. He's not the kind of guy who likes to use audiophile grade components because for people like him, he feels that, hey, if I find a part that's too spec, it's reliable, it does what it's supposed to do, and I can buy it in mass quantity so I can service my products for decades after people buy them, well, that's all that really matters to him. The only reason why the 40th anniversary even exists is because of consumer demand. Through the years, a lot of people kept asking him to upgrade the parts on the inside until one day he hired a marketing company who saw this demand and said, why aren't you just giving the people what they want? So that's exactly what he did. And quite frankly, it's been an amazing success for him. So congrats to Harbeth for that. But I have a suspicion that it's not just better parts that he changed. I think that he also modified the crossovers just a little bit. Now, I have no way of confirming that. This is just my suspicion. It's not a fact, but I wouldn't be surprised if he did. Anyways, now it's time to talk about how these speakers perform. So I'm going to start this off with a confession. I owned the standard P3 ESR for the better part of 7 years. Now granted, that was exclusively on a desktop system, but I nonetheless loved the sound. But then one day, I got bored, I sold the speakers, I tried out a bunch of different solutions, only to come back to the P3 via the 40th anniversary model. And I think the best way to break down this comparison is to first summarize why I like the original so much. And to do this, you need some context. I mean, number one, I use the P3 exclusively in a desktop environment, meaning that I need something that'll sound good next to a wall boundary while also sounding good with the speaker only a few feet away from my ears. These happen to do that. And then it comes to music listening habits. I listen to a wide variety of music. I'm talking about just about every form of classical, jazz, rock, metal, electronic, hip hop, R&B, indie. The list goes on. And I tend to listen to this music in one session. So I need something that'll sound good with just about every genre of music. These speakers in a desktop environment do that. But then I need something that's smooth sounding, something to where I don't feel like I have to listen to high-res versions of every recording, because a lot of the times I'm just listening to stuff via YouTube, if I had to be entirely honest with you, and these speakers are super smooth, which leads me to what else is important to me, which is an easygoing presentation that nonetheless has all the things that I value in terms of a good listening experience, which is namely really good tone, and that's exactly what these speakers have. They're the kind of product that has this relaxing yet natural sound to where you can come home at the end of a tough day, sit back, listen to your system, and know that you're going to be in for a stress-free, relaxing time. On top of that, they have the kind of sound that allows me to focus more on the media than on the speakers that's reproducing the sound, and that's really important to me. And that's why I love the P3 so much. And that leads me to the 40th anniversary model. So when I connected these to my system, it was a little bit of a culture shock, because while they have the similar sound, right? I mean, you know you're still listening to a P3. The differences were actually pretty stark to me. Number one, the 40th anniversary version is a lot more revealing. The top end seems to be notably more tilted up and pronounced. Now this does two things for you. On one hand, the anniversary model, I noticed, reached far more into the recording. In other words, if you're listening to a really good recording, it seemed like the P3 revealed that a lot better than the original. The big problem with the standard P3 is the fact that it does homogenize the listening experience. That's the main compromise. It sounds like everything was recorded in the same studio, mixed through a set of P3s, and that's that. Now for me, I can live with it. But with the 40th anniversary, you don't get that nearly to the same degree. I mean, this speaker does a great job of revealing what your components actually sound like, what your recordings actually sound like. But the compromise is that it's now no longer super smooth. It now no longer has that top end that sounds not like a metal dome. Like there's times where you can pick up on the fact that you're listening to a metal dome, especially on less than ideal recordings. And at first, I didn't like that. I really didn't like that. Moving on, we then had the mid-range. The mid-range is actually much cleaner sounding. You still got that same natural tone, only now there wasn't that extra warmth there, which I actually think is a good thing. But then let's talk about the bass. So the bass of the 40th anniversary is cleaner sounding, but that comes at the expense of heft. It doesn't have that same coloration of the standard version. So while it is quicker sounding, the compromise is that now the speaker sounds as small as it really is. So as I said, at first, I wasn't really digging on the 40th anniversary, but I was committed to it already. I already paid for the darn speakers, so I listened to them more and more, and that's when I started to really gain an appreciation for just how good they are. Then I recently brought in the standard edition, and I gotta say, going between the two speakers, the difficult thing about this is that one of these speakers are likely going to go, and I need to make a decision on which stays. It almost feels like the loudspeaker version of Sophie's Choice. I mean, it's really hard because when I listen to the originals, I think, wow, these are so smooth and easygoing. I love listening to everything through these speakers. And then I'll switch to the 40th and I'm like, oh my God, but these dig so much deeper into the recording. I mean, it's literally capturing information that the originals almost seem to be missing out on entirely. This is just such a fun experience, and I'm still getting mostly the same sound. It's really tough, guys. It is really, really tough. They're both really good products. I would say this, if you're somebody who's looking for that more modernized sound, you want something that's revealing, you value quick bass and all that, the 40th anniversary is going to be absolutely worth the price. But if you're looking for something that's just more relaxing, you don't want to worry too much about what it is you're listening to, you just want to focus more on the media, and that's it. Even if it means sacrificing a bit of resolution and insight, the original is going to be perfectly fine. Anyways, that's going to be my take on how the two compare. So now let me tell you about why, if I had to live with only one speaker, it would likely be one of these two. Let's get to it. Okay, I realized that this video is starting to come across like ad copy for both Harbeth and the P3 ESR. So what I'm going to do to take things down a couple notches is to have this honest conversation about how I think these speakers stack up to others in and around the same price point. So first, let's acknowledge that the P3 is not the only game in town. In fact, if you're interested in the LS35A experience, there's going to be a number of great products from other companies like Graham, Sterling, Falcon, Rogers, and many others. And there's a chance that when you experience those products, you may prefer the sound of them over what you get with the P3, and that's perfectly okay. And I also need to make it clear, yes, I know that the P3 is not a true LS35A, so you don't have to elucidate me in the comment section. So, moving on. Now let's talk about value, because $2,500 to $3,000 for a little speaker, I mean, that's a lot of money. Now for me, I love them in a desktop application and I think they're worth it in that environment. But if I were to shop around for a set of main speakers to where I put them in a traditional 2-channel stereo setup where I'm sitting 5 or 6 feet away from them, given my diverse taste in music, they wouldn't even be on my list of top 20 options, because you can buy so much for that kind of money for that kind of an application. I mean, the Tecton Design Double Impact, $3,000, 110 pounds a piece, nearly true full range performance, great performance for the money. Yeah, I would absolutely go for that every single time over a P3, no matter what generation, when it comes to that application. So it's all about understanding what your needs are. But despite what I just said, if I could only choose one product from this point onwards until I leave this earth, it would be the P3. And here's why. You see, doing zero fidelity, it's become painfully obvious that I don't have a main stereo system anymore, and I haven't for many years. And that's because I'm constantly reviewing product. That means my main stereo system is in a constant state of flux. I never get to just sit down and enjoy it. I'm always in reviewer mode. But with my desktop system, that's where I can just sit back and enjoy a good listening experience. And as my life changes, for example, I would love to move into a condo or maybe even a decent apartment and get out of the home ownership lifestyle. And if I do that, obviously a main stereo may not even be a part of my life. But you know what will be? A good desktop solution. Provided I'm here on this earth, I have a connection to the internet and a good computer, be it Mac or PC, I'm going to want that good near-field listening experience. That's exactly what the P3 provides. I like everything else about the product as well, so that's likely what I would go for. Anyways, guys, that's it for this video. If you stuck around this long, I'm not sure how the hell you did so, but I appreciate it just the same. As always, thanks for watching, and until next time, peace.